Hey, so this is going to be a super quick tutorial on how to replace the tabs on the end bell of your motor. I had a gun that stopped working. Turns out the tab snapped off and it's inside the connector. So first thing, I'm going to take that out, but I wanted to, instead of replacing the motor, still make use of it because it's a really good motor. And you got two options. Either you can solder the tab back on, which is a so-so option, or you can get an old motor that you don't need the end bell of. You can take the tab plate off and switch it between that motor and the new one. That second method is the one I'm going to be doing today. First, remove the broken off tab from the connector. Awesome. There it is. And that we can, I don't know, if you want to keep it and solder it on, you can. The next step, which I've already done, is to take off the same side of the plate on both end bells. Now this can be kind of tricky depending on which motor model you have. The first step will be taking out this screw. This is usually a star screw, so you can't just use a regular hex or Allen key. Once you take that out, then you are just left with this plate. But the plate has a pin that's holding it in place. And this pin, even though it looks like it's threaded, it is not. Those are just knurling and it is press fit into the plastic. There's a couple ways to take it out. I managed to take some pliers and grip it and just with a lot of force get it out of the motor, but you gotta be careful because you could pull the end bell out. The other method I took, which is actually slightly more destructive, I took a soldering iron, and you can see from this pin, I put a bit of solder on it so I could get better heat transfer, and then I heated it up until the plastic was melted, and then I pulled it out of the end bell. Once you have both the screw and the pin removed from both end bells, then the plate can just easily be taken off from both of them. You'll see this one has no tab on it because it broke off. So then you can just replace it, take the one that has the tab on it, and put it in place. There'll be two little slots that line up. And just make sure that you got the right one, so your tabs are on opposite sides. And then you just do the process backwards. So first you're going to take the screw and put it back in. Okay, so it turns out with really strong magnet motors, it's better to stick the screw through the plate first before putting it on, or else it'll just get stuck to the motor. Okay, now the pin is the last step. Once you have it in place, you should just be able to press it in with any hard tool. There it goes. Finally, grab the spring and make sure to put it so that the curved portion is pushing on the inside of the motor brush, and then compress it and lock it behind that tab, and you're done. There is your motor. Brand new tab, and it's ready to run once again. Also, I just tried soldering it, and that kind of works. It's pretty difficult, but if you're gonna try it, I'd recommend tinning both sides of the tab and the mounting plate. I held the mounting plate in one of these clips, and then the tab with my pliers, and I just brought the soldering iron down along the seam just to melt them together, and then use the pliers to get it into just the right angle, because you want it still to be in the right angle so that it can fit into the motor grip. Then the last step is just to sand off any extra solder, like here on the inside, that might stop the pin from fitting in. It's not the strongest bond, but if you do extra material, it might actually end up good enough. So I just finished cleaning off the excess solder on this piece, and as you can see, it actually worked pretty well. You've got some extra metal on the joint, inside and outside. Just got to make sure to clean off the tab itself so that the plug can still go on. But now I'm gonna install it and we'll see how it fits. Okay, so I actually ended up sanding one of the base edges of this pin diagonal. That way we can make more clearance for the extra solder that we now have on that joint. This will allow us to still have it be stronger without getting in the way of the pin. Okay, so finished the soldering one. It actually fit quite nicely. I don't think that's going to break anytime soon. Would I recommend it? Sure, but it wouldn't be my first choice. First choice would be replacing with another one. That way it'll last long. I'm also going to shim this into the grip with cardstock because the grip is a little loose, and I think that vibration each time it fires was what eventually wore this till it snapped off. But if you don't have a spare end bell that you can salvage one of these plates from, should you solder it? I mean, if it's a stock motor, nah, just get a new one. But if it's a nice motor like this, yeah, soldering it will be pretty good. It'll last a while.